Hey folks, I'm going to replace a toilet here, and you're going to see this is much easier than you might initially expect. The first thing you need to do is measure from the wall to those bolts that are sticking out of the top there, and make sure it's at least 11 and a half inches, because the standard toilet is 12 inches, and what that means is when the house was first being built, before all the sheetrock and such is on, the rough-in measurement from the 2x4s back there to those bolts is 12 inches. So if you're in the 11 and a half range or bigger, you're good to go with a standard toilet. The next thing I'd suggest is make sure your toilet is cleaned on the outside for obvious reasons, because you're going to be lifting this thing up. So the very first thing to do is to turn off the water underneath the toilet. Now I've got the water supply turned off behind this. I'm going to flush the tank here so we can get all this water out, because we're going to take this tank off next. Now that I've flushed that as far as I can flush it, I'm going to need to sop some of the rest of the water out of this tank, because it won't all flush out. Now that I'm done sopping the water out of this, there's always going to be a little bit of water left in the bottom of your toilet. You'll want to sop that up the same way so that when you pull this thing out, you're not carrying water sloshing around. The next thing to do is to disconnect the water supply line that goes from the wall to the bottom of your toilet. And a little bit of water might drip out still from being in your toilet, so have some rags handy. The next thing we need to do is disconnect the tank from the toilet seat, and there are usually two bolts that attach it on, and they're nuts underneath the toilet flange here that you can just spin. And there's one. You'll see in the back of the tank where these two are right there. That's where I'm talking about. And we need to take off those wing nuts in this case. There's two, throw those out, don't need them anymore. And this should come right off here. See that? It's ready to come off. Now that the tank's off, we need to loosen these bolts down here, loosen these nuts off the bolts. So you gotta take a wrench, and there's one on each side here, so once you get that loose. All right, one. Now do this to the other side. All right, I got the second one off. So now the toilet is, now the nuts are off both of those, and the toilet is broken free or ready to be pulled off, with the exception of the caulk there. Rock it back and forth. There we go. There's still a little bit of water in it. I can hear it, but now the toilet can be. I'm gonna put this in the box that the old one came in. And now that I've got that big hole open there, I'm gonna take a little rag and plug that up so that I don't have to smell any of the fumes from whatever else is in there. You'll want to scrape off any wax residue from the old wax ring. Just take a little putty knife or whatever you got and scrape that off. Clean off this surface. I'm also going to scrape off this old caulk on the ground. I'm now going to take these old attachment bolts off. You can see how they just slide out of there, and I use the new ones that came with the new toilet. Same thing. Put them in and then pull them back. And here's the wax ring that comes with the toilet, and this thing is so sticky, so I want to touch it here. And I'm just going to press it on there a little bit. so that it doesn't fall off when I flip this thing upside down. Okay. At this point, it's probably worth having a helper get this thing close. And now what we're going to do is have this set down here on top of those bolts that I just put on, the mounting hardware. Now that the new toilet is put on, I want to see if it's level. And it looks pretty level. I checked mine. Mine's close enough to level. I'm not going to shim it. What I'm going to do is take the washers and put them back on the bolts. And then take the new nuts and put them on. Hand tight it first, and then I'll use a wrench Now that these nuts are hand tight all the way to the bottom, I'm going to take a wrench and turn them lightly a little bit on each side so I don't crack it, but I want to attach this pretty firmly to the floor. And you don't want to over tighten it, but you want to make sure the toilet is not going to move when somebody sits on it or adjusts themselves when they're sitting on it. So I got that, shaking it side to side. That's not moving. And also, I'm in good shape there. Now that the toilet is fastened down, I'm going to caulk around the bottom of this. And here's the new tank. Comes with this seal that gets placed on top of this plastic ring here. Take these off. These are those nuts that will attach this. And this is the tank's going to attach through these holes in the back. And then I'm going to take the washers and nuts that came with it and go underneath to attach that. Now the other washer and nut attached to the bottom of this. And I'm going to attach this like I did with those down there. A little bit on one, and then tighten the other one a little bit. Yeah. Those nuts are tight on there. I'm now going to attach the water hose like it was. One of the last steps before I turn the water on to test this out, I'm going to put the toilet seat lid on, and they'll come with 2 screws. These just go through here with some washers and nuts to attach from the bottom. So I'll do that. All right, the seat's on. Let's test this thing out. I'm going to turn the water on back here, the water supply. Fill this up. All right, that filled up. Let's try it. All right, great. There we go. Tank lid's on. Whole installation's complete. It's that easy. Now I have a great running toilet. Looks good too. Good luck to you. Hope yours is this easy.